Peace and bright blessings, guys. It's your Queen of Spades coming at you. Uh, how many of you guys have watched the movie Nope? Huh? I watched it, and I heard a lot of people saying like it was boring, like it wasn't a good movie at all. Like it was just like low grade. It was his worst yet. I've heard people say a lot of different things. So I decided to watch the movie because I definitely wanted to see from Jordan Peele's perspective. This man is a genius where making movies is concerned, and the messages that he puts in these different movies. I loved Get Out, I loved Us, and I love Nope too. Um, Definitely shows like different dimensions of um I would say different dimensions between the thinking of people and how other extraterrestrial beings and other beings may look at us or consider us, how they view us. So, um, in the movie, it starts off with the guy from Get Out, Daniel Kaluuya, I believe. I don't really know how to pronounce his last name the best, but Daniel from Get Out, um, the star of Get Out. So he, as the movie begins, it begins with, this woman, telling jokes, and the crowd is like, laughing at what she's saying. And then you see like it's a family of people. Well, they're playing a family on this TV show. And apparently, this TV show became very popular. It was a family of five, two children, two parents, and then they had this pet monkey. So something happens at some point in the beginning of this movie where um the chimpanzee that they had, um he just started killing people. He started hurting people and killing people. And so he killed the mother, or the woman who played the mother. Then he killed the father, and he did this by beating on their chest and biting them in the face. He had blood like all over his whole face and mouth. And he didn't kill the girl who played the daughter in this family. But he bit her face up so bad, or hit her so badly to the point where like her face was distorted. It was never the same again after that. And then one of the family members was this little Asian kid who was played by none other than my Glenn from The Walking Dead. Okay, so I was excited off the bat. So I don't remember his name in the movie, so I'm gonna refer to him as Glenn. I forget his name in the movie actually, but anyways, yeah, I forget his name. But anyways, so yeah, he's hiding under the table and he's watching like this massacre take place. And at some point, the monkey, or the chimpanzee notices Glenn and decides like, oh, I didn't know you were there. So he starts like slowly walking over to Glenn under the table. And he's a little boy at this time. And so he's like really horrified because he just watched him like massacre all these people. So in the show, it was like top ratings, and what made it top ratings was, the chimpanzee and the chimpanzee's energy with the family, and also how Glenn interacted with him as well. So he had a special bond with the chimpanzee. So, like, there will be special points in the show where um, Glenn and the chimpanzee would fist pump each other. And that was their thing to go, like, and meet hands. So the chimpanzee slowly walking over to Glenn under the table, and his hands are bloodied, his mouth and face is all bloodied. He's looking at Glenn through this clear tablecloth, and Glenn's looking at him, and he's horrified. He's scared to death. So he's just sitting under the table shaking, and the monkey reaches his blood dripping hand under the table to fist pump Glenn. And so Glenn then, in his scary horrorness, like, he just kind of reaches back to touch fists with the chimpanzee as well. And right before their hands touch, a gunshot goes off, and the chimpanzee is shot in the head because authorities have arrived, and they killed him because he had killed this whole family, all except Glenn, and the girl, the daughter. He didn't kill the daughter either. Her face was just very much distorted from his attack on her. Hold on, guys. Okay, I'm back, guys. So the chimpanzee was killed. Well, shot dead. Um, and Glenn grew up to be a major businessman as a result, because everyone remembered him from when he was the little boy starring in the show, with a family and a chimpanzee. And, he became a very famous, very financially sustained businessman as well. So it goes from that part in the show to on the farm, where Daniel and his father, and I forget the guy's name, but he's played in quite a few movies. Um, God, he played in some shows too, but I especially remember him from um, a couple of different Steven Seagal movies, like Marked for Death. He was a police officer and a friend of Steven Seagal in that movie. That's one of my favorite movies. Um, but yeah, so in this part of the movie, he's on the farm with his father, and he basically uh, they're talking about the training of the horses and the cleaning up of the horses. And so, the father is like, you already did this, you did that. So he's like, yep, I already did it. So they're talking, and the father's like talking about his business plans with the horses, and, how they're about to be set financially. And Daniel is walking away from his father, who's actually like in the he's on a horse, a white horse by the name of Ghost. And yeah, it's funny that I remembered his name and nobody else's. But yeah, he's riding him around, and Ghost wasn't broken in yet. So he was still like very much a wild horse, but his father, Daniel's father, was like basically training him and breaking him in. So so yeah, so basically, as Daniel is walking away from where his father is sitting on top of the horse, as Daniel is walking away, he starts hearing like these different things like falling from the sky, like little keys or something, like hitting the ground hard. And so he stands still and he's like looking around, they're hitting the rooftop, everything. Then at some point he looks back at his father, and that's when he noticed that he was like on the horse, but he was slumped forward. And hold on, guys. Okay, guys. So, my children just got back from trick or treating and work, and so naturally, they want to come and mess with me. But yeah, so he looked at his father, and that's when he saw him like slumped. He was slumped forward on the horse, and you know, he didn't know what had happened to him, so he started calling his name, and the horse was moving forward, but his father was still in the same position. So at some point, he basically went running towards his father. Once he realized he wasn't really responding, he went running towards his father, and that's when he found that like this the right side of his father's face, the eye, had, was bloodied, and he didn't know what totally had happened to him, if it was some of the things that had fallen from the sky, where did these things come from. He's wondering these different things as he's speed driving his father to the emergency room. So they get there and they try to save his father, but unfortunately, his father passes away. Um, and on the car ride to the emergency room, his father is like naming the different horses. He's like, Lucky, Ghost, this one, that one. And Daniel is like, right, right, stay with me, Pops. But he's like, going in and out of consciousness, and he's losing a lot of blood from his eye. So his father passes away, and at some point Daniel starts trying to figure out like what he's going to do to make a living. How is he going to survive? So he starts, trying to sell the horses off. He continues trying to get movie deals for the horses, but they overreact. Well, I wouldn't say they overreacted. He was trying to tell the people who he was actually trying to do the movie deal with the horses, because the family's company was known for the horses being, like in movies and stuff. Um, he tried to tell him like he needs a break. He tried to tell him like, don't get too close to him. Don't look him in his eye. You know, but it all fell on deaf ears, and that's what they did. They looked him in his eye and they showed him himself in a mirror, and the horse went berserk, started kicking and jumping around, damn near kicked the hell out of somebody, but they moved out the way, and then he only got like the bag of stuff that they were holding instead. But he almost ended somebody, like. So then they saw that and they were just like, okay, um, we don't want your services. So they ended up not hiring him on. And he ended up taking the horse and, taking him back to the house. But he was looking for ways to, he had sold a lot of his father's horses and he was looking for ways to buy them back. So at some point, this alien comes. I mean, not alien, I'm sorry. At some point, he's outside and Ghost goes running off into the distance. At first he thought he was just kind of missing his dad, and that's why he was outside in the arena, just kind of like prancing around. So I thought it was cute. Like he went up to the horse and he's like, "So what's up? What's going on?" And the horse is like, he's like, "Yeah, same. That's what's up." Like conversate with him. And they had a moment like he was feeling like the horse missed his father, but I think the horse was mainly trying to alert him, like, we're not alone. Something else is out here. So, just then, the horse jumps the gate and goes running off into the distance. And then you see the horse get suctioned up into something. And then he had turned just in time to see this white, like UFO looking thing go really fast across the sky and behind a cloud. And they were like, what the heck is going on? Him and his sister, played by Kiki Palmer. She was funny in the movie too. She was hella funny. Um, they decided at some point we need to get some better cameras. So they have this guy at this store, technical support, to come and hook up some new cameras that they buy, because the cameras that they have are old and outdated. And apparently, the UFO has some sort of power over anything electronic, anything with electric energy. So it would like cut off the cameras as it's, coming by. It would just do whatever it had to do to not be seen. So yeah, so the guy comes out, he hooks up the cameras, and it just the movie, it was very interesting to me because these were people in real time dealing with a UFO experience. And I used to watch Unsolved Mysteries, and especially the episodes where there were ghosts or UFOs or anything like that. Those types of episodes always intrigued me. So in this movie, basically, uh, they get this guy, he hooks up the cameras, and then he leaves, and then they start having the sightings of the UFOs again, the UFO again, and there's a praying mantis on their camera. So they're trying to do that, get the praying mantis off, and the guy ends up coming out there to where they are, to help them with the cameras, because he knows they're trying to catch something on camera, and it's not working out to their advantage. So yeah, so it was just a really crazy ride with this movie. um Daniel thought that aliens were um in the goodness, the place where you keep the horses. I can't think of it right now. And where they're stables. He thought he saw little aliens. He saw these things with big heads, walking around, and then he turned around behind him and there was one hanging upside down behind him. And in fear, he punched it and it fell down, and the mask came off and it was a child, and they were laughing. They were like, weirdo. And so he realized they weren't real aliens. Um, but yeah, so at that point, um, they were like shook because this thing picked up the horse, but then the horse got free and the horse came back to them. Um, and It was just crazy because this thing kept showing itself off and on. They didn't know like where it would disappear to. And so they decided to hire a professional videographer person to come with a non uh, electric camera. if I'm saying it correctly. Basically, these were one of those old cameras that you had to wind up, for it to, take screenshots and stuff like that. It wasn't a new age camera. So the guy had this, and this helped them because, basically they didn't have to worry about like the power on the camera going out and them not being able to get this shot of the UFO. At some point, while they're setting up cameras and they're setting up this and setting up that to try to lure in the UFO so that they could get that money shot of the UFO, some random guy on a bike comes and they're like, you don't want to go that way, because straight ahead down the road, that's where it's like this energy. It's like ooh, what am I trying to say? All the energy and power and electricity that's around them. When you went to a certain place in the road and on, the energy was blocked by the UFO. So he's on this energy powered motorcycle bike, and they're like, you don't want to go that way. And he's like, he pulls out his camera. He's like, what's your name? And Kiki Palmer's like, nobody. He's like, you don't look like a nobody. And they're trying to get him from going this way, because they know that he's going to draw out the UFO. And he's like, well, I'm going this way, so suit yourself, nobody. So he keeps going, and he's on this high powered motorcycle bike, and he gets to a certain point in the road, and the bike shuts off and he goes flying into the air and onto the ground. And it looked like he broke his arm, possibly. Um, yeah, and so Daniel went riding on a horse out to him. And she was like, Kiki Palmer was saying on the walkie talkie, she was like, I told him not to take his behind that way. And so Daniel gets to him and he's like, hey, man, are you all right? So now by this time, the UFO is like floating around in the air. Um, Actually, the UFO wasn't floating around in the air just yet. He was behind the clouds. And the guy with the non electric cameras actually spotted him and was like, you see that cloud? It hasn't moved in hours. And they were like, we probably been looking at that same cloud all our lives. Like, it's just been back there, like, watching us. We see that cloud too. It be hiding behind it. So Daniel goes to the guy who falls off of his motorcycle, who gets thrown from the motorcycle. And he's like, hey man, are you okay? You need some help? And the guy's like, where's my camera? I need my camera. And I'm like, what? Like, you're hurt. Like, what the hell? So um, he's like, look, man, I got to get you out of here. It's not safe. And he was like, I need at least my camera. Where's my phone? He's looking for these different things. And he's like with a broke arm, like bleeding and hurting. So he was like, let me get you up. So when he tries to get the guy up, the guy's arm like pops like really loud. And he's like, I need my camera. I need my phone. Like, we got to take a picture of this. Do you see this up in the sky? I got to take a picture of this. So the guy is like worried about getting the shot even over his own life and health. So Daniel is like, okay. So he's like not cooperating with Daniel. He wants to be left there and he wants Daniel to give him his camera. Well, Daniel knows that this thing is watching them and he's not going to make moves to go and look for a camera. He's trying to get the hell out of there. So, um, it was just crazy. The UFO starts coming to where the guy on the motorcycle was on the ground. So Daniel's like, listen, man, I tried to help you. I gotta go now. So the guy's like, wait, no, where are you going? Wait, no, don't leave me. Like, what? Like, he tried to help you. So it was just crazy. Daniel gets on the horse and starts riding off. and the guy gets suctioned up into the UFO. And he's like, oh, oh God, oh God. Like he's screaming this. I'm like, wow, I wonder what the hell is happening to him in there. Um, at some point, Daniel's riding off on the horse, and the UFO comes speeding up to him and slowly goes like kind of like over Daniel's head. And he hears the guy saying, oh God, oh, like he's screaming. And he hears him really loud in this UFO. So Daniel stops and he's looking down because something tells him if he doesn't look at the UFO, he'll be safe. So he's looking down at the ground and he's standing still. And the UFO kind of goes over his head and sits there for a minute and then kind of like goes up into the sky. And at that point, Daniel decides to start gearing the horse up to ride off. And he starts speeding back to the house. And the UFO starts chasing him and comes pretty close to Daniel. He's, going as fast as he can on this horse. And at some point, and he had these flags attached to the horse. So at some point, he waited till the horse got close to the barn, the stables where the horses lived. And he jumped off the horse into, the barn stable area. And the horse kept riding off. And it was like the UFO saw the flags hanging from the horse, so it decided not to mess with the horse. And so it was just crazy. They continued to film, the UFO, and at some point, the camera guy that they hired was like, we don't we don't deserve the impossible shot. And so Angel, the guy from the store who's also there with him, he's like, what? And the guy was like, don't worry, Angel, it'll all be okay. And then he just walks off towards the UFO with his camera. And Angel's like, guys, this guy said something cryptic. I don't know what he's talking about, but he's heading towards the UFO. And they're like, wait, what? So they look out and they're talking to him on the walkie-talkie. You don't have to do this, man. He's like not answering back. And so he makes it to the top of this dirt hill and he's got his camera and he's rolling. And then here comes the UFO. And the UFO proceeds to suction him up, but he's taking pictures of the UFO. And then the UFO, as he's screaming, suctions the man up and then kind of like spits out his camera. So they have all this evidence and proof on the camera, but um, they're like in a fight, like a race to save their lives. And other things, little things happened here and there throughout the movie before these things I'm mentioning now. But it would take a long time for me to go through all of them. And I just want to point out really significant parts of the movie at this moment in time that stuck out to me the most. Um, this was a good movie, the whole thing. Um, so then Angel goes up the hill to try to, help the guy that went up there with the camera. And he's blown by the UFO who has eaten some things that the guy was carrying with him and is now like coughing it out. Anything that was on people's persons, cameras, keys, coins, any of those types of things, the UFO didn't eat. It spit it back out. Um, so yeah, and then at some point, it blew Angel away. And so Angel went rolling down this hill and he got wrapped up in this, it was like a cloth, a plastic cloth, and it was like wiring from the fence. So he decided to wrap the cloth more around himself and wrapped the wire around him as well because it was still attached to the wired fences out there. So at some point, the UFO came back to get Angel, tried to suction him up, but he had all these wires around him. So the UFO ended up taking in the wire, and Angel, with the cloth still around him, fell from the UFO and onto the ground and started rolling. Now it's mad. It's like angry. It's coming at them left and right. It's suctioning up their home, everything. At some point, um, Daniel and Kiki Palmer decided if he could distract the UFO, she could get on the motorbike that the guy had and go get help, possibly. Daniel was distracting the thing. They learned not to look up at it because the moment you look up at it, that's when it swallows you up. And I'm like, well, why is that? Like that was something else to me, because why when you look at it? So then yeah, Daniel's distracting the thing, and it's coming closer and closer to Daniel, and he's acting like, yeah, I'm gonna look at you now. So it's coming closer and closer to him, and he's telling Kiki, go get out of here. So at some point, the power comes back on everywhere, and she rides off on the motorcycle, to a surrounding nearby place next door where, there was like fairs and stuff, going on in this part of the farm, where people could come and visit. They could ride the horses, they could, get snacks and different things like that. So she rides the motorcycle towards that area. And the thing is like, trying to find her, and she's hiding in betwixt and in between the different buildings and stuff like that. I didn't mention Glenn at some point, his wife, and all the people he was putting on like this amusement park show for, they all got swallowed up by the UFO. So I was like, dang, like, um, she went and she decided to unattach this huge thing that was like a air balloon of, a guy with a hat on, and it had lots of flagpole streamers coming from it. So she decided to release it into the air, and so this thing goes up in the air, and the UFO takes notice of it, and it decides to, come after this thing, because it's in the shape and the form of a human, but it's actually a balloon. Oops, sorry guys. So while this thing is drifting up into the air, it's no longer looking for Kiki Palmer. It goes up into the air to try to catch up to the air balloon. And the UFO opened out from like just a simple like spaceship looking thing. It opened out to like a Super Saiyan like form of it, like all the way out, like to where it was almost like a being, an extraterrestrial being of some sort, with a long dress like thing. um yeah, it was crazy, but anyways, it went after that air balloon and swallowed it up, and then a few seconds later the UFO blew up. It just, you know combusted, because it couldn't eat those types of things, but its greed, to consume any and everything, led to its demise. And I found out, like, just from watching the movie, and I watched it quite a few times actually. From watching the movie, the UFO was attacking people who were obsessed with um like, making everything into something that they could benefit from monetarily. um make monetizing everything, every single thing. The UFO felt like human beings were like gluttonous, not food wise, but money and attention wise. And so anybody at an amusement park or putting on a show or trying to stand out from others, like the UFO was going after them. So when the UFO finally went over to this big air balloon to consume it, Kiki Palmer was at a spot on the grounds where she was like she had found some change on the ground that came from somebody's pockets, put it into the machine and started snapping pictures of the UFO consuming the air balloon, and the pictures were coming out in the tray. And she was like, "We gonna go to Oprah." And it's funny because, like, this was like a saying that her and her brother had in the movie. He loved Oprah, and he felt like if they could make it to Oprah, they'll be set. Um, and so she was like, "You love Oprah, So they was like talking about that a lot in the film. So when she took that last shot on the camera at the amusement park, she was like, "Let's go to Oprah." So I thought that was so funny. Um, and they actually got shots of it. And her brother, she was wondering, if she was the only one alive. Angel saw the big air balloon go up into the air and the UFO tried to eat it. Her brother was safe. He was standing at the entrance of like the gate of the amusement park area by the time the authorities showed up. So she was just like, whew, like, I'm glad we made it. Like, so it seems as though like the only people that didn't make it was her father in the beginning, um, the guy that had the non-electrical cameras, and then Glenn, his family, the girl even that was a co-star with him. She was at the amusement park that day, and all the people that were there watching the show, the UFO 8. So it's like her brother Kiki Palmer, her brother Daniel, and Angel, the tech guy from the store in the movie, were like the last ones to like survive that was there on that farm. So it was crazy. The movie was really good, and I feel and felt like there were lots of symbolic messages and suggestions in this movie. It was really good, and you know, I'm still unpacking it. But if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. And if you have some more thoughts on it to add to what I brought you guys today, definitely um, comment down below and let me know what you think about it, because it could be some things that I'm missing. Um, but overall, it was a great movie. I've watched it now 3 to 4 times. Um, yeah, definitely let me know what you guys think about it and comment down below, and we'll have a whole discussion about it. All right. So that's all I have for the movie Nope. And I look forward to actually seeing you guys again in the next video. Peace and bright blessings.